Let's fight. A very good evening to each and every one of you. Let's fight. Hope some of y'all are get bite today. A very good evening, guys. Wherever you're joining us from, on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, let's fight. We are so privileged to see each and every one of you here with us tonight. And we have quite a program. A couple of guests are going to be dropping by talking to us about COVID and vaccination, mandatory vaccination, two shows, elections, quite a few things we have to discuss with you guys. We are ready to go, and we hope that you guys are ready to go as well. We are good to go, guys. Share the live stream, pay the cost of admissions, and then let's get going. Folks, I gotta tell a few of you a couple of things, Gotta tell a few of you a couple of things. It's good to see so many of you joining us nonetheless. And we are so grateful that you guys could join us. Good to see all of you, each and every one of you. Guys, so much to discuss with you. Right? So much to discuss with you. I see one of our ministers, installed ministers, getting into problems with young boys. I see that. Getting into problems with young boys. Well, y'all know y'all's story. Right? Y'all know y'all's story. Lord of mercy. Give me a second. Give me a second. Y'all know y'all and get y'all luck. Huh? Y'all know y'all and get y'all luck. Well, the rest of us were just wondering how long until. Right? Well, I'm not ready to unpack that story just yet. Right? The file on our table. The file is on our table, and we are reading the information. Yep. A government minister in this installed administration being linked to young boys yet again. Yet again. All right. The file on the table. We want you all know that the file on the table, right? Those folks who are joining us on AppNew AFC page, folks, you got to share this live stream. You got to share this live stream. Those of you joining us on the AFC page, come on, guys. We got to share the live stream. I know my folks on my page always share. The folks on my page always share the live stream. We ain't got no problem there, right? And I know you're going to share even now. So let me see where you guys are picking us up from this evening. Who do we have with us? We have with us Angela and Donna and Belle, Nadia, Seafort, Diana, is it Badin, Shell Labumba, Junie, I see you there, Sharon Griffith, Gavin Liverpool on YouTube. Big up to Gavin joining us on YouTube, all the ringsiders, right? Especially those people who are joining us on the AppNew AFC page, especially you. A very good night to each and every one of you guys. Share the live stream for us. Those of you who are joining us on all the other pages, in all the other groups, right? Shout out to our folks in the AFC Brooklyn group, AFC Youth Group, the AFC page. Those of you who are joining us on my YouTube channel, AppNew AFC's YouTube channel, on Twitter, in Twitterverse. Good to see each and every one of you this evening, guys. We're going to have a couple guests, as I said, dropping by. We got some hot topics. It's Flashback Friday. Flashback Friday, guys. And we want to discuss a couple topics with you. I see Aubrey Stevens watching us from New York. How is the weather there, Aubrey? Good to see you. Kim Walker is in the house tonight. And Michelle Fordyce, or Michelle, depends on where you went. Selena Fraser, good to see you, Selena. Good to see you, Selena, all the way from Toronto, Canada. And Selena, I just want you to know that I got through with that thing. Thank you, Selena from Toronto, Canada. I was going to send you a message, but I was hurrying to come on. But I just want you to know that I got you with the thing. Guys, if you want a wink, all right. All right, I'll tell you how you can get a wink and a shout out just now. A little later on the program. Folks, let's get right to our hot topic. Some of y'all come for Bacchanal, so I got to give it to y'all. Vanetta Seymour and Diana Ramachar, good to see you. Diana Ronita Andrews and all of you other guys. Yvonne McPherson, Ramaya, or Romano, sorry, surname Romano. It's going by so fast. Laverne and Sandra, Albert, Lena Williams, Conrad August. Good to see all of you. Norma Jones. Let's get to the hot topic tonight, folks. Let's get to our hot topics. All right. And that's the one that we want. Are you guys ready to go? Well, are you ready to? Are you ready to? All right. Something always gotta act up. Stop it. All righty, and we are just about there. Guys, we want to flash back. We want to flash back this evening. You all remember the time nobody cannot call me right now. I'm sorry. I'm not taking any calls now. I'm sorry. Right? Do you remember the time when David Granger wanted an incorruptible commissioner of police? That is the time I want to flash back to. An incorruptible commissioner of police. What an interesting time that was. Quite an interesting time. We weren't seeing half the things that we see today. Let me get a little more space between me and the graphic. Yeah. We didn't see half the things that we see today. You remember that time? An incorruptible crime chief. This was the headlines. This is what the David Granger Avenue AFC administration went after. And I don't know all of the thought process that went into it back then, but I can understand that if you get the head right organizationally, right, then the body is going to fall in line. The tail don't wag the dog, the dog is wag the tail. So we went after an incorruptible crime chief. Well, all hell has broken loose in the police force since August 2nd, when the installers were installed. Right? All hell has broken loose. Not a day goes by, folks, when you don't see something in the papers and you just got to shake your head at the police force. Right? I see now they're trying with Leslie James. They're trying to bowl a ball. Right? Mr. James perhaps had his fault, but we never saw what we see currently in the Ghana police force. And as though they wanted to outdo what they did yesterday, quite recently, we saw this headline. Lord, Lord, Lord. Sometimes they make you wonder. The headline reads, policemen in hot sauce. Open some good tiger tea pepper. Policemen in hot sauce as 24 million missing from illegal Chinese immigrant. $24 million. It is the equivalent, I think it was 100 and something thousand US dollars. When they apprehended the Chinese immigrant, he had this money on him. Well, I'm certain there are standard operational procedures in the police force for how monies or valuables that are taken off of persons who are apprehended, detained, arrested by the police, how that is managed. Well, the money gone missing. The money has gone missing. Mind you, $300 million missing from the police force currently. $300 million missing. So if you add this, it's now 324 million missing. You remember the time? Yeah, they're like Leslie. Incorruptible. Flashback. Incorruptible. Right? Now, this is the things we're dealing with. 24 missing, 24 million missing. Right? You know, there used to be a time when you holler, thief, thief, you expect the police to come. Now is the thief coming? Now is the thief coming? You don't even know the difference. You don't even know the difference. That is why sometimes people don't report a lot of matters to the police, you know. You don't even know the difference it's going to make. You don't even know the difference. So the man money gone. The equivalent of 24 million Ghana dollars. And this is in the last couple of days because we remember showing this headline that this Chinese national or these Chinese immigrants were arrested for entering Guyana illegally. Some on the quarantine there, they were apprehended. Now the people money gone. PPP come back. The PPP come back. And the people money gone. Right? So 24 million gone missing. Folks, this was the headline this morning in the Guyana Chronicle. This was the headline. Paul Slow and 8 others charged by Soku. Paul Slow and 8 others charged by Soku. Now, this installed administration wants us to believe that 8 senior police officers, well, 8 plus 1, right? I know if we rounded up or we rounded down. 8 plus 1, 9 senior police officers conspired together to steal 10 million Guyana dollars. What's the maths on that, guys? 10 divided by 9 is how much? 10 divided by 9 is how much? 9 senior police. That's what this government wants us to believe. 9 senior police officers conspired to defraud the police force 10 million Guyana dollars, not 10 million US, 10 million Guyana dollars. Y'all ever see madness like this? They're trying to make me something. Folks, they are trying to make us something, but we tell them, don't come around with funny. Don't come around with funny. Last night, I was telling you guys about fighting for your family. Last night. Some people give up on the children, you know. Some people give up on the children and it shows. Right? Some communities give up on the residents. You know, there's a proverb that says it takes a village to raise a child. Some people give up, right, on their residents. Some communities give up. A 19-year-old to be sentenced for killing Supernam youth. He's 19. He started living yet, you know. He ain't start living yet. 19. Right? Some parents give up. I know some children hard. Because we say here colloquially, you just make it children, but you don't make them mind. But some parents give up. And some of them didn't even try. Too many of them didn't even try. A lot of fathers in the rum shop sporting with the boys, and they ain't concerned what happening home, you know. They are not concerned what is happening. It's give up, they give up. They give up. Too many women struggling, too many mothers struggling. You gotta go to war. Nobody at home to supervise the kids. They're raising themselves. Right? But I hope these parents don't give up. These young men haven't started to live their lives yet. 19-year-old to be sentenced for killing Supernam youth. 19. Right? This one says, couple robbed by 15-year-old and accomplice. Couple robbed by 15-year-old an accomplice. These are things, Jack, you don't talk about in the press conference. No. Right? We don't talk about the failure of the family. Right? And as the family goes, so does the community. And as the community goes, so does the tongue. And as the tongues go, so does the nation. No, these things don't make press conferences, prime time. Couple robbed by 15-year-old, and then you put in a system now that gets him more hard. All right? We spoke last night about fighting for your family when the woman called in to talk about her relative who was cheated out of, in her estimation, the proper recognition for her Cape successes. And the family's arguing that this young lady should perhaps be the Cape top student, not to take away from what anybody else has done. This was their contention. Agree with them or disagree with them, that's up to you. The point we were making is that this is a family that is fighting for a child. Too many of us give up, and give in. Right? Too many of us. Couple robbed by 15-year-old. Right. Too many communities give up. Right. People minding their own business now. They ain't concerned what happening next door. They aren't concerned what is happening next door. And that is the tragedy. Right? Look, one night I was somewhere in the city and I remember seeing this young lady by standing, an East Indian young woman, she couldn't be older than 18, standing by Quabbin and Camp Street. It was perhaps around 6:30, the dusk started to seep into the city. And she was standing there, obviously waiting on somebody. She was looking around, fiddling with her cell phone. And I stopped and I asked her what she was doing there. And I asked if she knew how dangerous standing there at that hour could have been. I said, you better keep moving to wherever you should be heading to. You got to look out for people. Some of us only look out for people if they hair like ours. Well, all we brown skin here are dark, so I can't even use skin color. If the hair different from ours, we only look out for those people. Right? We cannot give up on our children. We cannot give up on the nation's children. 15-year-old and accomplice robbed the couple. And if you read the story, by gunpoint, 15-year-old, 19-year-old to be sentenced. Right? And if we don't do something drastic in this country, a whole generation can be lost. A whole generation. Right? Moving on, folks, to COVID-19. Moving on to COVID-19. I don't know what to say about this installed catfish administration when it comes to COVID-19. Right? There is little that they can do to recover. Little. So today, 2 more deaths. Every day people die here. Every day people die here. 160 new cases, 18 in ICU. 2 deaths, 160 new cases, 18 in ICU. And every night we say, social distance, wear your mask, sanitize. Every night. The same thing. Social distance, wear your mask, sanitize. And then you have all the other protocols. Restaurants and places of worship, 40% capacity. Right? And the list goes on. And we've been encouraging you guys. More deaths, more confirmed cases, more persons in the ICU. Just today, we learned that a well-known pandit in Region 5 succumbed to COVID-19. And I want to take this opportunity to send our thoughts and prayers with his family. Our thoughts and prayers go out to his family, his loved ones, the people who attend, the places that he fellowshipped. Our thoughts and prayers go out to them because we can imagine the irreplaceable loss that they have here, and even the community that has lost. But we have learned recently, this pandit was at a big wedding, officiated at a big wedding in Cotton Tree in Region 5. We also learned that a number of government ministers were at that wedding. It was at the residence of a big businessman in Region 5. And so if you ever wanted the evidence that COVID is real, if you ever wanted the evidence that COVID is real, ladies and gentlemen, right? Cotton Tree, Region 5, Region 6, and all the other regions, if you wanted the evidence, we have lost a pandit. Now, you might look at somebody and say, well, they look healthy, they can't get no comorbidities, or you might think that about yourself until the Rona hit you. But as we have said, our thoughts and our prayers go to the family, right? And I'm quite certain that if Pandit Ji had a chance to talk to you now, he would say, take the precautions, right? Take the precautions, Jagdio. Take the precautions. Jags, bald head. Jagdio says no evidence lockdown will reduce the spread of COVID. No evidence lockdown will reduce the spread of COVID. Well, how are you going to know if you tried? Right? This is the same fellow that says, the gas shore project is going to make money. You need studies and all that. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. Lockdown not going to solve COVID. It's a no-brainer. Right? Paho hinting at lockdown. The specialist at Georgian Hospital hinting at lockdown. Carissa Etienne from Paho. Dr. Karpen, Mahindra Karpen, out of Georgian Hospital, hinting at lockdown. Jack, listen, right? As I was coming on, I was listening to a nursery rhyme, right? Mother dog say quack, quack, quack. This is a quackter, not a doctor. He's a quackter. But this quack telling us no evidence. Well, tell me to India, right? Modi is saying the same thing. And India producing COVID vaccines rather. India producing COVID vaccines. Tell India, no evidence lockdown will reduce the spread of COVID. Right? Says the quackter. No evidence. Right? Tell Pandit. Tell Pandit Ji. Right? Tell Cotton Tree. Right? India thought vaccinations was the only way out. They're producing vaccines. They thought vaccination was the way. They're producing vaccines. So if vaccinations was the cure for all, how come India is where India is? How come? Folks, we're doing our part here in the ring. We are doing care packages for those persons who are really affected by COVID-19. There are school children who don't have the tablet to access schooling online, right? Some children don't even have the online. So we're trying to do our part, giving school supplies inclusive of tablets and household items and groceries. Some people got it bad, folks. So when you think you get it bad and you hear some people's story, you realize you're in there nowhere yet. You and then nowhere yet, right? Some people got it rough, folks. Some people got it rough. I want to bring in my guests at this time. I think I'm going to be joined. Yes, I have both of my guests backstage, and they are going to join me in just a few. So bear with me while we get that set. And we are going to be talking about a couple of things. I'm going to ask them to take their. All right, let me see if I can do it from my end. No, I can't. So I'm going to have to do the other way. I know they're going to be joining me via audio only, so I'm going to ask them to save the data, to take off their mic, to take off their video, to save the data. Right? The quactor says lockdown not going to help. Right? He said also that Skeldon factory was going to work. Same fellow. Right? He was convinced that Skeldon was going to work. So let me have my guest on, and we'll take things from there. A very good evening. I'm privileged to be joined by former Minister of State, Don Hastings Williams. Comrade Don, how are you doing?
Good evening, Sherrod, and I'm fine. Thank you. And how are you?
I am good as well. Don, I know we've been in the process, even in the midst of COVID, having these two-show elections. And I wanted to have another update. I know you were with us a couple of days back. I wanted to have another update as to are those elections still ongoing? Have we completed the process?
All right. Thanks for having me again, Sherrod. Yes, I did start the last time I was on your program. I started by congratulating few of the two shows who were successful in the two shows elections in various communities. And it's, if I'm not wrong, it's about to finish or almost finish. In most of the communities, the elections have been held. The people have chosen their leaders, even though some communities were being meddled with, as we have received some reports.
Yeah,
But
there seems to
let
be
me
a
tell you
lot of
something.
that. There seems to be a lot of that because I think it is understood that these two-show elections are apolitical, right? That the two-show elections, are almost independent from political interference and all of that. But the PPP seem to have gone campaigning for their candidates.
Well, Sherrod, I wouldn't say that it is apolitical, but because it's a arm of a local government, and what I have seen recently is that the candidates for Tushal have started to campaign in some of the communities, and so. But what I would tell you is that the tradition is that the people themselves, they have that democratic right. No political party or political body should be going into these communities and trying to tell them who they should vote for their leaders. That
Yeah.
is very wrong, because the people themselves, they have a right to choose their own leaders. And we have seen many of those instances whereby political persons, activists, have been running into these communities and trying to influence them to vote in a certain manner or for a certain individual. But I am very, very happy this evening to report that our indigenous brothers and sisters in the various indigenous communities have elected the two shows of their choice. And what we have seen to Sharad is that many of those two shows who were elected are very young. Of
Mhm.
and We have a Tushao now in the Karasabai, I think, if I'm not wrong, who was 19 years old. And that's the youngest of the Tushao. The young people, the young indigenous men and women are now taking up the roles of leadership. And I believe, and I have no doubt, that they will be efficient and they will effectively manage the development of their communities. The young people, the young indigenous are speaking up and taking on the role to be leaders of their communities. So I want to congratulate again the new two shows because some of them who are still eligible for for a second term were knocked out, actually knocked out, and a new persons were voted in their place. What is important too is that every two show and a senior councillor forms a part, becomes automatically a member of the National Two Shows Council. So I am looking forward for this National Two Shows Council with all these young men and women who have been placed as their two shows for communities. My hope, I only hope that the government will give them that freedom of speech. You know, we have heard and we have experienced in the previous, under the previous administration, that when these two shows and councillors meet for the National Two Shows Council, sometimes they're being manipulated, stopped from expressing and talking about their issues. But I can tell you tonight that they enjoyed their democratic right under the APNU AFC for the past 5 years. And they were happy to be given that opportunity. They ran their own meeting. For the past two shows council we didn't had any PS chairing those national two shows councils. We saw the chief himself, his deputy, and other senior councillors. They were running the show. We as ministers were invited to tell them about our developmental plans and then to listen to their plans and what their plans and their programs and how the government should help to develop their indigenous communities. That is what happened for the past 5 years.
Well,
And I
Don,
hope that
talking
that
there.
will be continued. I
Well,
hope that will be continued.
let me disabuse you from that hope, because we have gotten complaints, as I've said, that in the, for instance, the community enhancement projects, there are councils that are proposing one set of people, and then the government is picking their people, and the councils are feeling very, very disregarded, right? Very, very disregarded. Akawini is one
I
of
could,
those places that's happening right now.
well, I could only imagine and I can feel with them. But what I can say tonight to whoever is listening, that the two shows need to be firm. They are elected two shows in their own right. They are autonomous, meaning that they have the authority to say or to select as a community, of course, with the consultation of the community members, because indigenous communities, they are very serious about free prior consent and consultations. And we have learned for over the years. Sometimes people come into the indigenous communities and say they're consulting 3 hours, not even a day, and the indigenous brothers and sisters, they don't call it consultation, they call it
Yeah,
information sharing. If you go to many of the communities now, if you as a politician or a minister goes into the community and says you're here to consult on a topic, on an issue or a program, they will tell you point blank consultation. You cannot do consultation within few hours or within a day.
Yeah.
You are here to share information to us. We call that information sharing. Consultation will take more than a day and perhaps months or several weeks. And so our indigenous brothers are not, you know, they are independent, many of them, most of them. They're now knowledgeable because we were able to share knowledge through various mediums in many of these communities, through our radio stations, which unfortunately are now taken over by the state. And many of our broadcasters who were trained are no longer there. However, like I told you before, I have no doubt that these new two shall, because I know many of them. I know their abilities and I know their capabilities. They will lead and manage their communities according to their mandate and in the interest of our indigenous brothers and sisters.
Excellent. Don, thanks for coming through for that update, and continue to keep your pulse on all that is happening in the hinterland, especially as elsewhere. Thanks very much, former
Thank you
Minister
to thank you
Don
to
Hastings.
Sherwin, and I wish to tell my brothers and sisters that let them continue to be safe, protect themselves, adhere and observe the protocols of COVID-19. COVID-19 is real, and you know they will be at a disadvantage. Many of our indigenous brothers and sisters will be at a disadvantage in the hinterland because of various constraints. You know, not adequate health personnel, and you know these communities are small, and if one or two persons get that virus, it will spread rapidly if they do not observe these protocols. So I want to leave the message with them: be safe, protect yourselves, and protect your families. And if the opportunity presents itself for them to be vaccinated, let them get themselves vaccinated. So thank you once again for having me share.
Thanks again, Don. Thanks very much. Have a great evening. And folks, with that,
Thank
I
you.
have with me trade union extraordinaire, the one and only Lincoln Lewis. A very good evening, sir. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. I'm here waiting on you.
Thanks very much for your patience. Well, you and I have been talking about COVID-19 and how it's been affecting the workplace. And you know, when we were coming on, we just spoke about the comments made by the installed Vice President, Mr. Jagdew, about um, lockdowns not showing that they curb COVID by any means. Any thoughts?
Um, I'm not surprised, because I'll tell you, understand this. Some people who hold public offices, it's not about the people, it's not about workers who mock these type of things that we are concerned about people, we are concerned about workers. It's not about that. It's about
Mhm.
them. It's about them and their friends. How much money they can make on the backs of people. That's how life is dispensable as far as they're concerned. They don't care much about it, right? In the factories, they will open the offices and everything for normal business because they want to make more money.
Mr. Lewis? One of the things we have been seeing, Mr. Lewis, is almost like businesses are mandating and entities mandating employees to get vaccinated. We start having a Giftland, them saying, but bring your vaccination cards. You have to be added to your work folder. We started GPL, a similar stance. Now we're seeing it at continental agencies where workers have been told if by Monday you are not vaccinated, you could be on the breadline. Is this legal? Is this right? folks, while we wait for Mr. Lewis to patch back in, this is what we have been seeing. This is what we have been seeing, and there is quite a concern out there. There is quite a concern out there. Of course, you would be fearful in terms of losing your job. So you might not even be too clear on which vaccine is the right one for you, if any vaccine at all. As many persons are not even clear about COVID on the whole, because the public education process has been so poor. But we have seen where persons are now being forced, and quite a few workers there at continental agencies reached out to us, right? And so we were asking this question, whether what these employees are seeking to do to mandate workers to take the vaccine is lawful.
I am not hearing you, Sharon.
Mr. Lewis, we were asking whether
repeat your question for me, please.
Yeah, we were asking whether employees mandating workers to take vaccines, COVID vaccine, it is legal, and whether it is right.
One will, let me say that I don't know what the contract of employment of many persons may be. But let me tell you something. The law, if you are saying that you have employed someone and that person, you are giving that person instruction, or you're saying that every employee of your organization must take the COVID vaccine, let me that if something happens to that person, or any one of the persons, in fact, it will be considered, and it has to be considered as an industrial accident or something of the sort. It is because it becomes a part of the organization rules, philosophy, and rules. So long you say to an employee that that person has to take the injection, something happens, then he or she is carrying out a legal instruction and it has to be covered on the Occupational Safety and Health Act. Outside of that, if you can't take that responsibility, if you're not prepared to do that, then you can't be giving instructions to workers to do anything. Because basically, it's an instruction, and it's a legal instruction from the employer. But let me say further, the question here is it is legal within the premises of the organization. That is your rule inside there. But your rule has to be compatible with the national and international laws. You can't, if a person saying this is my body, and I have to determine whether I am going to take it, then that person has a right to challenge the decision that has been, or the instruction that has been given by the employer. That person has that right. I'm saying but I'm saying to you also, the moment that that person has conceded to take to carry out that instruction, take that injection, that vaccine, the moment you have done so, it becomes a responsibility of the employer. He will have to face the consequences if anything happens.
Yeah, and so I guess the other question would be whether an employee can refuse to take the vaccine and still be on legal grounds.
That person can challenge them. The law, you see, I'll tell you what, because we are not in a country that we believe in litigation, a lot of employees have gotten away with a lot of things. No employer can give me that instruction. You understand me? I will challenge it in the court, right? But many people don't want the court. Many people are afraid if they challenge it, they are going to lose their jobs. Employees have been taking advantage on persons because of the economic circumstances that people face. I am saying to you, it is the question of taking an injection, taking the vaccine.
Yeah, yeah. Mr. Lewis, I don't doubt that quite a few public servants are watching us right now, or workers in the private sector. What is your advice, not only on this issue, but on COVID period? What is your advice to workers, the workers of Guyana, as a trade unionist extraordinaire? Mr. Lewis? I'm seeing quite a few comments. I see folks saying that the essential workers should take this COVID vaccine. Quite an argument is happening right there on our string. But again, the PPP had promised to bring COVID vaccination legislation to Parliament, but they've prorogued Parliament. They have prorogued Parliament. They ain't got time with Parliament. They ain't got time with the oversight, right? The governmental oversight, the spending oversight. So they have prorogued Parliament, right? Failing to bring the vaccination legislation. So all the workplaces doing whatever they want to do, and that is the challenge that we have, right? That is the challenge that we have. They promised to bring the COVID vaccination legislation to the House as to how this vaccine would be rolled out. And now it's total chaos and confusion. And employees are doing whatever they like to their employees. Employers doing whatever they like to their employees. Mr. Lewis? Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
Yes, sir. I don't know if you missed the question, but I was asking. Yeah, go right ahead.
Sharon, what you need to understand, there are two sets of employers here: the private sector and the government. When the government speaks that we have consulted or we're dealing with our partners, the government partner is the private sector. Both of them singing from the same hymn sheet. Both of them are on the same game of.
Are we going to wait for Mr. Lewis? I'm seeing quite a few comments here. Persons are saying essential workers don't have to take the vaccine. There are a few persons who are adamant that essential workers must take the vaccine, right? And people are saying, some folks also saying that in the comments on the chat, that the PPP is a lawless government and continues to be a lawless government. Right. Go right ahead, sir. Mr. Lewis, go right ahead. All right, I think I may have lost him there. But folks, you know it is wrong. The folks know it is wrong. So don't let's mama guy. Go right ahead, sir.
Yeah, as I was saying, Sherrod, both of them, the government partner is the private sector. They intend to make money. And regardless of what people say, that's their intention. They're not going to change course. Something has to be done. Something has to be done for people to be respected. They don't care as long as they make that money. So the issue of the legislation being taken to the National Assembly, it will not happen in due time. It will not happen. The question of this 60,000, even this, let me just take you back. The $60,000 minimum wage for the private sector employees.
Yeah.
The president was very clear just between a month after he was elected. He went there and he said very clearly that, look, they will not implement the $60,000 minimum wage because the private sector has caused them to do that. Even where you had even boards and, for instance, like the tripartite and workers organization, which is trade union. Now you have government, you have the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce, the Private Sector Commission, KG, and then the trade union. It's no more tripartite. It is now approximately 5 groups that are here because where the employer got to sit down to determine wages. It is only in Trump world, Trump and Putin world it happens, where the employer got to determine wages for workers. Not the employer, what you call, not the employer per se, the owners of business.
Yeah.
The owners of business, right? In the West, we
Seems as though they're operating like a cartel. That's how it seems to me. Right? Like they're operating like a cartel. Yeah.
So that we are. Yeah, Sharon. So that's what it is. But I'll tell them, let me repeat. Let me make this point before I leave or you leave.
Right there.
The issue of instructions being given to employees. That instruction must fall within the purview of the occupational safety and health law. Anything happens to anybody who carries out that instruction, that person has to be treated as an industrial, that whatever happened has to be treated as an industrial accident. People got to start preparing to carry these employers to court to get what is just and fair. Even if you get sick, you must deal with it. If you're sick to 2 days, 3 days, it is your place to take it beyond that because it's an industrial, it's they causing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's it, sir.
All right, sir. Thanks for your insight, Mr. Lincoln Lewis. Thanks very much, sir.
You'll be good. And you'll be good. Enjoy.
You as well. Great. Guys, and there you have it. There you have it. There you have it from the expert. There you have it from the expert himself. Right? I don't know if we can articulate it any better than that, but there you have it from the expert himself. That if these employers pressure you, to take the vaccine and then something happens to you, you fall ill, they're responsible. Right? And so you take them to court. You take them to court. Because I know a lot of persons have been asking, a lot of persons are fearful that they don't take the vaccine, they lose their job. What is to become of me? Right? And it's sad we're at this point because we've had so little guidance. It is the Ministry of Health, government policy supposed to be leading, but government policy ain't leading. Right? The government policy and leading. So everybody doing what is right in their own eyes. Pressuring the workers for their own benefit. Folks, that's our time this evening. We ask you to social distance, sanitize, wear your mask. We don't want one more of you ending up like Pandit from Region 5. Right? We value you guys and we send our thoughts and our prayers with and to his family. Right? Because none of us should be dying at this point, 1+ year after COVID-19. None of us should be placed in that position. The authorities, the installed PPC administration, not leveling with Guyanese, and they've done poorly on COVID governance and governance overall. Have a safe weekend, guys. Have a safe weekend. Thanks for joining.